So, let's start by just explaining what agentic AI is and how it differs from generative AI chatbots and AI-powered data analytics that our audience is likely a bit more familiar with.
Sure. So let's start with the difference between agentic AI versus generative AI. And it is actually a different, though, evolution, I would say, of generative AI. Generative, I think of it as something that creates content that didn't previously exist based on historical things that have been fed into it. So it has the ability to understand context of a question. It can reference a large swath of information that it's been trained upon and generate something for you to answer that question. Agentic AI is much more problem solving. So it's not necessarily creating content just broadly, it's specifically trying to solve a problem or answer a question with facts, which is just a different way that you can use this technology. But I think something that makes it much more fit for purpose for our manufacturing environment. Doesn't mean, by the way, that it's completely free of the challenges you saw with generative AI, because it still has some of the same underlying technology. But as we kind of go through this conversation, we can talk a little bit how that de-risks as we got to move into this agentic world. And the last
Okay.
piece, as you mentioned, by the way, which is critically important, is don't lose sight that there's this whole other broad swath of really interesting things that's just AI. And that's could be machine learning, that could be deep learning. That's where I'd say we as manufacturers have been spending a lot of time over many years,
Mhm.
have some really rich models that are out there, and still is where I'm thinking I still see the highest current examples of ROI. But it is now starting to merge all these things together that it gets really interesting. So to broadly recap, classic AI, predictive deep learning, generative AI, creating that new content, agentic AI, moving to problem solving.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that, Tim. Now, most AI technologies for manufacturers like the chatbots and data analytics that you mentioned, are part of other software platforms or applications. Is this the case with agentic AI too, or is this something manufacturers will apply separately?
Uh, I think you're going to find a bit of both in this situation, but and I think we'll probably touch on a little bit on single agent versus multi-agent models. In general, what I would say is a lot of the power that agentic AI will provide to manufacturers is when you're cutting across multiple sources of truth, which means multiple systems. So by that nature, I think you're going to find a lot of the agentic AI to sit above any single piece of software that will absolutely will work with and consult specific agents for that software. So said differently, you may have a agent that's specific to your ERP system that may be communicating with a broader agent to answer your broader manufacturing questions. So it's a little bit complex there, not straightforward, but I would say the real power is going to be when you're cutting across systems, not tied to one individual system.